So today I'm going to be sharing a story about a waitress that was working up in a very isolated part of northern Canada at a bar, I guess, that's probably an hour away from any real community and 3 to 4 hours away from any real city. Up there, it's a different kind of world, and people get used to routine very quickly. I've lived up in northern Canada in a few different provinces, and it's a beautiful life if you can get used to the quiet and isolation and, like I said, kind of routine and the people. It's great. But in this situation, it got very dire for her, and I'd like to go over what we could really kind of observe and learn from it. It's a great safety story, and yeah, as far as I know, there was never any real police reports on it because technically a crime didn't happen. And for some reason, the RCMP, they're great people and stuff, but some people say that some reports kind of actually do just kind of vanish when they try to look back on them for more information and whatnot. It's a very peculiar thing, but it is what it is. But let's get into the story, and we'll see what we can learn from it. And before anything, I just want to say that the following story and analysis provided are for educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm speaking solely based on my personal experience in the security industry, but I am not a certified safety professional or law enforcement officer. If you feel you are in a dangerous situation and require immediate assistance, please contact the police. And if you feel you need adequate training, then contact a certified expert. This is my own sole perspective, but with that, we'll get into it and let's see what we can learn and enjoy the story. In northern Canada, the highway is a world of its own. It's quiet, it's vast, and for a waitress working at a remote roadside bar, it's isolated. For most people, that isolation is peaceful, but for a predator, it's an opportunity. The story starts with a man who didn't fit. He was well dressed, looked very either corporate or military, and he sat at the bar ordering a simple soda with perfect posture, something she had never seen. He wasn't there to flirt, he was there for intel. He asked her basic questions, where she was from, how long she'd lived there. He was profiling her, seeing how deep her roots were in the community. At the time, it didn't look like a red flag, just a traveler being polite and maybe awkward, just asking really basic questions without any much else to say. But then he paid, and this was the first red flag, and she got a little bit of a subtle shiver from it. He slid a $100 bill across the counter for a $3 drink. The highest she'd ever seen and maybe was used to is 20, but never a brown up here in Canada, as we would say. So in the security industry, we don't call that a tip, we call that market research. He was priming her. He wanted to see if she could be bought, or if the sight of easy money would make her eyes turn green and put down her guard a bit, obviously. He was testing her price tag. So she went on with her business, but then the next night he came back and he skipped the small talk and he made a direct proposition to see if that dollar bill loosened her up a bit. He offered her a career as a professional escort for high net worth individuals. He was careful to emphasize that there was no sex work involved, just traveling and networking and 5 figures a week, just to basically be on the arm of a very rich person going to events. She was a smart girl, she declined, but he wasn't finished. The following night, he returned with a woman. He sat off to the side while she took the lead. She was the seller, professional groomer. This is what they do. She had a smile that reached her ears, and it felt incredibly fake, obviously. She talked about the sisterhood, how she played the mother figure, telling the waitress that she was once like her, and they're out in the middle of nowhere because that's where the gems are. Choice words designed to create a false sense of safety and privacy. Again, the waitress said no, and it was a major red flag. She didn't believe that she needed to include anyone yet, but that was her mistake. She felt like she was a big girl and can handle this herself. Because lo and behold, this is pretty brave of these people to be in an isolated bar where everyone knows everyone, and it'd probably just take for her to snap and point at them the wrong way, and they'd be out of there very quickly. Possibly, if you know what I mean. So, she knew that this wasn't a job offer anymore. It was a hunt. She was being targeted. The biggest red flag of it all happened the next night. The bar was closing, and she had already turned off the open sign, but she had the door left unlocked. This is when the woman walked in by herself. No one was in the bar, obviously, and this is quite serious. This is a tactical move to isolate the target. Anytime a person is obviously really trying to groom you or convince you, and then they show up at a time when you're alone, that's an incredibly huge red flag. Do not wait, take action, get out of the area, or call for help as soon as you can. And that's what she did. Her gut took over, her guardian angel, whatever we want to call it. She got very lucky. So she immediately grabbed her phone and texted her manager and just kept it simple. I'm in danger, hurry. Then, yeah, she wanted to see what the woman said. The woman came to the counter and just told her, are you sure you don't want to join us? She said yes. And the woman said fine. She turned around and walked out. Now, this was too obvious, and she, as soon as that door closed, she ran to it and she cracked the bolt shut. And luckily, this bar, being out in the middle of nowhere and whatnot, it was very well secured. They didn't have a single window. I'm sure the fire escapes probably just led to the roof and a ladder or something, but the doors were big and steel, because that's what you need with some of these isolated buildings. It's nothing for someone to come up and just kick a door down. It had very good security, so it was like a little fortress, and that's what saved her. Because as soon as she locked the door, not a few seconds later, someone came and started trying to open it and bang on it. She got scared, she went and hid, she called 911, and not just a few seconds after that, she could hear the back receiving door being shoulder checked. So it's most likely that they were hoping that she would run out the back, right? It was a pincer attack. Very common in the military, common in hunting. You flush out your prey, right? So, with the solid doors and whatnot, she was safe. There's a time for running to make distance between you and your problem, but in danger. But there's also one of the best options is just hiding in a safe position until the threat's gone. So she hid, and luckily, in that time, she said that she could hear people spinning away. That would have been the people realizing that they couldn't get to her. They left, and then a few minutes after that, the manager showed up. She could hear him squealing in. So, with that, they checked the videotape footage, and sure enough, yeah, the woman was there. As soon as she left, masked men came to both sides. 4 in total, 2 on each side. Obviously there to grab her, and yeah, thank God that she made it out of this okay and unharmed. So with that as well, by the sounds of it, obviously they were never caught, and that's what's concerning about this. I'm sure the RCMP probably tried to do a check, but when you're in the north, sometimes there's literally 4 hours of highway on each side of you. It's a very vast, very hard network to explore with the back roads that could be going off into different things. In the wintertime, it's a little more simple because communities are literally usually just one road in and one road out. But in the summertime, if you go down one of those roads, the river systems are just a spider web. They probably had a boat waiting. They're obviously professionals hired by someone with very negative intentions with this woman. And they probably went by boat to get to a different vehicle. But that's all we know about it. So let's go over some of the red flags here and see what we can kind of learn from this situation. First and foremost is obviously the wealth probe. If a stranger is showing you money for no reason, they're just checking your vulnerability. They're seeing how you react to it, and they're hoping to loosen you up. The next would be a maternal groomer. Never trust a safe face when the offer involves isolation and secrecy. When someone tries to take you away from your schedule and they offer you a dream and whatnot, half of the time it can end up being a nightmare. Be very cautious when people try to offer you something better when they have no idea who you are. And be cautious of pincer traps. Yes, so sometimes if people are intentionally trying to scare you, sometimes it can be a flush. Really question where you're running to, and if you're in a structured place where there's only one way in and one way out, just question that. Sometimes, like I said, the movies aren't always right when they have people. Actually, movies never really show it. Usually, they run off into the woods, as we know it's terrible. But stay near people. And stay safe if you can when you know help is on the way. It's very important to actually stay in one place when help is on the way, because half of the time, yes, if someone runs off, that's when it only takes 10 seconds for something terrible to happen, and but it obviously the problem will disappear very quickly if you just wait that extra minute. And with these grooming kind of situations, let's talk about the social anchoring. When don't stay silent. Predators rely on politeness, isolation. They target people like that they figure aren't really reaching out to a lot of friends and whatnot. Tell people what's happening. If someone's trying to manipulate you, make it public. Once they realize you aren't alone, obviously it becomes a much higher risk for them and they move on, right? So I hope the story serves as a reminder, and it's a great lesson to go over. But please, just like I said, I am not professional. Reach out to a professional if you have any serious questions, and keep in touch with your loved ones. If you know someone that's quiet and not as social, just check on them sometimes. See who's talking to them, what's going on. Sometimes people are being manipulated and used on a scale that's very private because of shame and whatnot. But don't ever let it happen. Don't let anyone be alone. Come together, be that community. People are much safer when that kind of information's out. But watch out for one another. Be safe. Thank you, and take care.